This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club. Be a part of the community and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Pewterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Same hop, but different alpha acid numbers. Are water profiles worth it? And how long is too long in primary fermentation? This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 440. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show, not one of the shows, but the show where we supply the answer to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com, use that submit a question link. You could text us. You could email joshua@homebrewhappyhour.com, but I want you to call it in to 325-305-6107. When I use your voicemail question on a future episode, you get yourself a gift card to kegconnection.com. It doesn't get much better than that. Oh, wait, it does. Record scratch. While I am one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, I'm actually joined today by one of my favorite people on the planet. Not just favorite brewer, one of my favorite people. We actually small talked just now before recording, longer than I'm probably going to small talk on the show. Lorena Evans, she is a world-renowned homebrewer, author, editor extraordinaire. I don't even know how to introduce you properly without you thinking I'm being condescending and without me trying not to fanboy. So, Lorena, how are you doing today?
You stuck up. I'm good. I'm really, really good. Thanks for asking.
That's what it is always about, is me sucking up. You're also my hero because you are always available when I need you. Last week we had to cancel the episode because Todd lied to me. We did an install and he was like, I only need you a couple days. And I was like, okay, perfect. And if I would have taken the podcasting gear, we could have done it from the Airbnb or whatever. It would have been fine if he just would have been honest with me. But he couldn't be. It's against his nature to be honest to me. So we had to cancel it. This week, James is on vacation. I forgot. I'm glad, James, if you're watching this, leave a thumbs down so we know you're watching at YouTube. But also, I'm super happy that you took a vacation because James is like hardworking guy refuses to take vacations. I'm not a hardworking guy. I vacation every chance I can. Like that. That's the key to stress-free living, man. Is like, I've been with Todd so long. I've got like 3 weeks of vacation, I think. And guess how many I take a year? 3.
5.
Yeah, 5. Good answer. You're right. Good answer. Good answer. So James is gone. I called Todd yesterday. Hey man, you got time to do the show? Why would you think I'd have time? I'm over here doing this and then. I was like, oh, okay. So then I immediately messaged you. Please, Lorena, I am begging you, please. If you don't do it, I'll probably lose my job. I forgot what lies I told you. I perpetuated the cycle of abuse that Todd has instilled in me. But you are my hero. So I thank you so much for doing it.
I'm thrilled to be here.
And I was when we were talking times and coordinating, I forget, and obviously just thinking about it makes sense. You're not in Florida right now because it's the summer. You're a winter Floridian. You're in the Upper Peninsula right now. And how is the weather there? I'm assuming it's fantastic this time of year.
It is. It was a little warm earlier this week. A lot warm, but it's great. We have a lot of Canadian smoke from the fires, though, so there's a haze out there, and your eyes are watering things. But otherwise, beautiful. I did install a swim raft yesterday with one of my grandsons. We swam the swim raft out, dropped it, lounged in the water. It did not suck.
Life is good. And then
all that, yeah.
When you're up there in the Upper Peninsula, you're always in front of your beer fridge. Are those old labels, or is that what you got on tap right now?
Water. I got water and IPA number 1 and IPA number 2. You know, many years ago, I was one of these people that would come out like with a really cool name, you know, like Spank Me Red Ale and Furiously Hoppy. Now it's like IPA 1 and IPA 2 or otherwise water. And leave.
I like it. Yeah.
I have a Pilsner in there too, but I don't actually have a tap open for it right now. So
I like it. You name them like an engineer. Like this is just.
Well, someday when I grow up, I'm going to be an engineer.
Remote 1, and then the next model, Remote 1 Mark 2. And then, yeah, I like that. Is your water by profile, or is it just RO? How do you do your water?
We have wonderful tasting water here. It is fabulous, but it is very high in carbonates and other ions. Like we have not real high in magnesium, but yeah, I bought an RO machine probably 20 years ago, and I do use RO. And it's same with my fizzy water. I put RO water, and then I use the Salts Your Topo Chico clone, and I have it doesn't say Topo Chico because I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Trademark that.
Yeah.
But yeah, my water is from your salt. So so I've got wonderful water on tap that I can drink till noon, and then never mind.
I got a fake cease and desist on that Topo Chico clone, like when we first released it, when we first launched it, because it's called Topo Clone, and but it was total fake. It was like I say fake. It ended up being a attorney that wanted to preemptively represent us and protect, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they baited us, as in like, do you realize the infraction you could get pursued for? And I took that first contact as like, oh crap, of course my idea is to get Todd sued. Like, of course it is. Of course. That's again. And no, it ended up being some attorney that was like, oh no, we will represent you if that time came, and here's the, it's like a $7,000 retainer for this corporate thing. And I was like, dude, Todd doesn't even pay me that annually. How are we gonna afford it? I'm on 2007 minimum wage still, guys. Like, what are we doing? But anyway, no, I didn't actually know you did that, because I was going to tell you I'd love to ship you some of those packets okay, perfect. You do me such a solid. I'm going to send you how many 5-gallon, how many fivers do you typically go through? Like, I mean, how many should I send you? 5, 10?
Sure, that'd be great.
10?
Yeah.
Okay. They weigh nothing.
Sometimes too, I do a little bit different. I'm lazy, honestly, and so sometimes I read somewhere on a homebrew talk thing that sometimes with RO water, just to help counteract some of the carbonic acid bite, tablespoon of baking soda. Good enough if I run out of the topo,
Oh, brilliant. Yeah.
And then I bought those, there's dehydrated crystallized lime and lemon.
I do.
I make my own fake 7-Up with no sugar, a little bit of that, a little bit of that. So yeah, I'm pretty lazy overall, but if you send it, I shall use it.
People don't realize how convincing, like, I do my Topo Chico or Fopo, whatever we call it. It's not, I'm gonna have to come back and edit this. My homemade Mexican sparkling water. And I can say that because my mom's Mexican. So it's kind of Mexican, it's Mexican-ish sparkling water from this household. I do it at like 35, 38, I'll just round up, 40 PSI. When you put lemon and lime or both, it is very convincing. I don't know if it's because of that strong carbonic bite, but it's very convincing to Sprite and or 7-Up. It's very convincing.
Yeah. And then you can get off the sugar that way because I really am kind of anti-sugar, especially as you get a little older and you consider health consequences. So without the sugar, it's actually pretty good.
Speaking as someone who's very addicted to sugar, no, it's terrible for you. It's so bad for you. But tell 10:30 p.m. Josh that when he's pouring the third bowl of cereal, oh, I shouldn't do this, but I can't sleep without it. I'm a total drug addict, man. I'm a total drug addict.
It's addictive.
Yeah, but if I go to AA, or not AA, if I go to Drug Addicts Anonymous or whatever and say sugar, they're going to boo me out of the place. So, you know what? This month, I'm going to make a Sugar Addicts Awareness Month. Is what I'm going to do for the month of August. I should. How do you know they're addicted? Well, they're kind of in shape, but they've got this weird gut and love handle thing going on. That's indicator 1. The pre-diabetes cheats, that's indicator number 2. I got that. I have to just tell people my wife slaps me all the time. Like, why are your cheeks so red? It's pre-diabetes. Quit asking.
And anybody will believe you because if I was your wife, I'd slap
you.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, that's a great segue into actual content for this show.
Awesome.
Before we do, real quick, I promise I'll be extremely quick with this. A little bit of housekeeping because today is July 31st. We're recording this the day that I'm going to publish it. Friends, if you go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join a recipe receiving tier, you're going to get that Karakuchi Japanese rice lager shipped to your door. Lorena, it is a clone that I came up with for Asahi Super Dry. Not sure if you've ever had that, but it's delicious. When I did the recipe, James, or maybe it was Todd, I think it was James, was like, I'd rather just do Bob Toots cream ale instead of a. I had to give you those props. Like literally, when I told him about it, he goes, "Why don't you just send out? That's probably a better recipe." I was like, "You don't even know. How dare you?" But friends, again, patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. Join the recipe receiving tier. You're going to love it. All the details are there. When you join the recipe receiving tier, you have access to the post about the recipes. Go tell me how you want your grains. It adds you to the spreadsheet, yada, blah, 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 blah. Those are going out, I believe, tomorrow because Imperial had a delay in the yeast getting to us. And for once in my life, it wasn't my fault. I didn't put in the order late. They are, they didn't have the pouches for one, and then they didn't have, I'll say, I'm not trying to drop rumors or whatever, but I know either they had issues with pouches or maybe they're getting out of home brewing and they don't want to tell me. I hope not, because I love Imperial, but I'll take the jugs. I'm just not going to bag them for our members. So maybe I'll just tell them, send me a jug and we'll use it on our own. But yeah, that's the recipe this month. And then Brew Day Live, guys, it got postponed. We got to wait for my pop and I to come up with the date. It was supposed to be last week on Friday. But again, Todd lied to me, so we couldn't do that week. But stay tuned. If you follow us, Instagram.com/homebrew happy hour, or on Facebook if you're a boomer, or anywhere else that... I'm not trying to offend people. I know our demographics.
Hey, I'm the only one of your customers, I think, that doesn't have a beard. So there is that.
Right now, Yeah. Yeah, you're not Hispanic. My mom hates that joke when she'll talk about mustaches. And I go, oh, because you shaved this morning and don't have one now? Yeah. And now, thank God she doesn't watch. Or maybe she does watch with my dad. Her and my aunts and cousins or whatever, I'll get messages every now and then. Why do you post like that? Why do you talk like that? Yeah. Like, I have to exploit my Latino-ness. It's a very 2025 thing. But either way, that is actually all the small talk I have. I did bring a real episode to you. You're helping me answer the questions. Lord knows I can't do it on my own. So if you're ready, Miss Lorena Evans, I'm going to get, hopefully this works. People on YouTube are going to have to comment if the gong happens. You tell me if you hear the gong. Did you not hear the gong either? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm gaslighting everyone into thinking we have a gong on this show. Either way, On my end, I heard it. The gong of questions has come up, and now our first question of the week, it's a text message from our buddy Dustin, and he wrote, is it okay to use the same hop even if each bag has a different alpha acid percentage on it? I have a bag of Citra from last year that says it is 11% and a bag from earlier this year that is closer to 14. What would you be, when would you be able to tell the difference? I don't know the sweet spot for Citra, assuming there is one. Thanks, Josh. Dustin, it's a good question, and I'm glad Lorena's on the show, because Todd, if James is on vacation, I forgot when I did the episode, Todd would be like, I don't know, next question. And I certainly don't know. I would think it's negligible, but what do you think about using the same hop variety, but it's a different batch, therefore it's a different alpha acid?
Well, that has happened to me. I have a hop freezer, so sometimes I will have different years. And the thing is, the difference between 14 and 11 can be insignificant, or it can be very significant. And just for fun, I typed this into software. And Dustin, if you are not using software, in a case like this, I would suggest even use a free one. I happen to use Brewer's Friend, but there's others out there. Because if you want to really avoid too much bitterness, and that's the main thing we're going to talk about here, not so much flavor, but the bitterness. The bitterness contributed at say an hour. And most people don't use Citra for the beginning of the boil. They use a different hop. I like Citra, but I noticed that sometimes when I use it for bittering, I get a little bit of a more cappy in a good way, if that is a thing. So for fun, I punched that into some software, and my phone is ringing. Can you believe it?
Oh, good timing.
Sorry about that.
No, you're
I'm going to put my phone on silent.
No, you do whatever you want. You're an adult. Answer the call. Todd would.
It was probably spam. Just like you when you called me.
Just like me.
So anyway, just for fun, I did put it in Brewer's Friend. And I used both the 11 alpha acid and the 14. So in the gravity of this beer would be 1055, to give you an idea of the amount in a 5-gallon batch. So adding an ounce of 11 alpha acid Citra at 60 minutes gives us 43.52 IBUs. Okay. The same time, same amount, but with the 14% is 55 IBUs.
Oh, wow.
About a 10 IBU difference. That amount of bitterness might be negligible. But again, it depends on what you're making. If you're making an IPA, I say negligible. If you're making something a little lighter, it might be noticeable. Also, of course, if you add other hops at 15 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, that's going to increase that much. But I did it also at 5 minutes just to see what it would calculate to. The difference in that case, it's like 2 IBUs different. So if you're if you're not going to use the software and you're going to use that Citra later, you're going to get all the flavor. It's going to be about the same, especially in like a 10-minute edition or Whirlpool edition, dry hop edition. It's going to be negligible. I would use, as long as the older hops are fresh, been kept frozen, vacuum sealed, I would probably want to use those up. But if you don't have enough for your whole batch, certainly use the others. Just be mindful in early editions that you can have a lot higher IBUs.
And you took the words right out of my mouth in regards to implying about rotation. Like one thing I think people, and I don't know about homebrewing, but I'll throw my wife under the bus. She doesn't watch this. One of the things that we legit fight about, and you would think there'd be a ton. I mean, you've known me, the real me, for a long time. You'd think like one time I think I annoyed you, and you were like, and this is when I had hair, to be fair. You're like, you're lucky you're charming, I think is what you told me, because like I'd said something just so stupidly ridiculous. It was when
I didn't call you charming. I'm sure I didn't. I think you misheard me.
Well,
I do think I said you're lucky you're funny.
Oh, that's what it was. That's what it was. You're lucky you're funny. Yeah, like my mom always said, honey, you're not handsome, but you got a good personality. But my wife and I, one of the things early in our marriage and to this day that we'll bicker about sometimes is grocery shopping, and specifically the waste. Because if you have a pantry, and even if it's well organized, but you're not rotating old to the front and new to the back, then when things expire, and if you believe in expiration dates, which, by the way, that's a conspiracy by the government to keep us down and our wallets empty. No, I'm sure they're real. My wife believes in expiration dates to the minute. And so So she goes on the can. It expired yesterday. Bonk, throws it away. And I'm like, but because you put new cans in front of it. If you wouldn't have done that. So where I'm going with this, not just therapy session with Lorena Evans today. If people who are buying in bulk, or even if it's not bulk, if you're buying 1 pound bags of hops, keep rotation. That's the best piece of advice I could give for people who keep ingredients on hand, because nothing's worse than going to a brew day and having a bag of hops that you open up and it's stale and they're brown because maybe they weren't stored right, or they're just that old. I don't know what a shelf life would be for a hop. If you freeze it, it's a long time.
It's a long time. And this is another rabbit hole to go down, but many, many years ago, there was this hop crisis where we couldn't even get hops. Like, I think it was like 2008, 2007.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, yeah.
And
it was like 08, 09.
Bobby M from Homebrew Talk, but he has a homebrew store and a equipment store called brewhardware.com out east. He somehow got a donation from Sam Adams, their hops. So he had, I don't know, a billion pounds of Techniker or whatever. And I did pack them away, freezer saved, put them in the freezer, vacuum sealed. And guess what? About 5 years later, I found some of them, opened them, no cheesy. They were really great. And I did end up using some of them because I had kind of a stash. So ideally, you would use them quickly. But if you're not going to use them quickly, vacuum seal them, put them in the coldest part of your freezer, but don't forget about them, because that's my mistake, and take good care of them. But yeah, oxygen and heat are the death of hops.
Yeah. And to end Dustin's question, another thing I want to point out about what you said that I think is the key takeaway. Software is your best friend to answer this. And don't get me wrong, the questions keep the show going. I appreciate it. You got to submit the questions for me to get the bacon. I get it. But if you use software, we use Brewer's Friend as well, or sometimes I use the Grainfather one because that's what I'm brewing on. So it's just easier to keep, everything under one roof. You can see like, hey, I have this one, like one of Lorena's favorites, Fuggles, and it's at 4%. And then the other one's at 7.5%. You can see what that Fuggles would do that, to the batch of ESB that you're brewing. I always think of you when we talk about Fuggles on the show.
If you like to eat dirt like you did when you were a child, I think you love Fuggles.
I love this so much. Like when I learned at which homebrew con, what was the first one we hung out at? Was it?
I think we were in Portland.
Oh, was it? It was either Minnesota or Portland, but there was an ESB, and I was like, "Oh, that's good." And you tried it, and you go, "It has Fuggles in it. It has Fuggles in it."
It's dirty.
But you're like shouting it. It was my.
I might have had a couple of beers that day.
A couple, yeah. You also, you know what, Dustin? Thank you so much for the question. We're gonna wrap that up. But you're also that homebrew con was the one where I learned about breaking the seal or breaking the. Because I had.
You're gonna bring that up.
I had to. Well, you taught me. I mean, listen, lady, you just give me a lot of life lessons. I was like, hey, well, y'all stay here. I gotta go pee, and you're like, don't do it. You're gonna break the seal. And I was like, what is she blabbering about? And the theory, guys, if you're wondering, if you're at a beer fest or I guess a sporting event or anything, and you're consuming beverages of any kind, the moment you first pee, that's going to set up now you're having to pee like every 40 minutes or less. And sure enough, gosh darn it, I did. Like I went 4 hours without having to pee. And then I went 4 hours having to pee every 20 minutes.
Broke the seal.
I broke the seal. See, you hang out with Lorena long enough, you learn a lot, guys. That's what I'm getting.
This is why you don't let your kids hang out with me.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Every time y'all come down to Texas, they were busy, Lorena. Sorry, couldn't bring them by. Sorry. Don't want that wisdom rubbing off on them. But Dustin, thank you so much. And guys, if you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, let us know what you think in regards to your personal experience with same hops, different alpha acid, like any results that you get from it. And if you're not watching there, like 99% of you do, call it in if it's worthy enough to 325-305-6107. Like I said, I'll play it on a future episode. Get yourself a gift card to kegconnection.com. Here's also the gaslighting gong of questions that no one hears but me. So moving on to question number 2. It's an email from our buddy Frank P. And he wrote, "Hello, Joshua. I have a question about salts for water profiles. This is probably a better question for Todd. Well, he's not here, Frank. Uh, do you recommend researching the authentic water profile when brewing a regional beer such as your beloved Kolsch, or do you think a boring person such as myself would be fine using the same basic salts every time I brew? Up until very recently, I haven't used salts at all. In fact, I've only been using my city water supply. I live in the greater Atlanta area, but a post on Reddit made me think that maybe my beer could be even better if I used better water. What are your thoughts? Thank you all so much for the help. He's not really jabbing at me. It's true. My pop and I, we use straight RO for every batch. I gave you my water profile many years ago when I first moved to San Marcos, and you're like, that pH is too high. I wouldn't, you're like, you could use it. I personally wouldn't, is what your feedback was. And so I say I put in an RO. I paid someone to put my father-in-law to install running water. I had a sink out there. I've got RO system. It's very nice. It was very expensive for everything said and done, but worth it. And I think I've noticed just using straight RO, our beer has been great. Do you think it's worth it going that extra mile if you're going to be doing a Kolsch or an alt to get that profile from that region to make it region specific? Or is there like a dash of this and a dash of that and you're good to go?
It really honestly depends on what you're making, but let's start with saying, what are the ingredients in beer? Hops, barley, water. What's the primary ingredient? What's the most? Water. So at the very least, I would suggest looking at your own water profile. If you happen to be lucky enough to live in Portland, you probably have almost RO quality water coming out of your tap. You live in Florida or Michigan, where I do, you have rocks that come out when you turn on your faucet. So, you're going to want to look at that. So as far as looking at the traditional profile, what I don't think the target is really first of all, you can look at it to get an idea. A Dortmunder is going to have a lot harder water than something like a Bohemian Pilsner. Okay. So be aware, maybe. And again, for an IPA, you may want a little bit different water. So here's the thing I would first of all suggest. RO water is a great place to start. I don't know the water in Atlanta that Frank is starting with, so I really can't tell you what to do with that particular water. But the idea is to use the least alkaline water that you can, and the best quality water without chlorine or chloramine. So you're going to want to deal with that first. But if you look at what you're making, generally, this is about maybe 15, 20 years ago, A.J. DeLange, who was really a noted water guy, suggested a couple of things. One is you want to do the little bit of this, little bit of that method, do it. Start with RO water. For beers that have maybe are malt forward, put 5 grams of calcium chloride in that for a 5-gallon batch. I'm going to always talk about 5-gallon batches. A lot of homebrewers do that. If you're going to do a hoppy beer, do that 5 grams of calcium chloride because yeast love calcium. Add 5 grams of gypsum, the calcium sulfate. You can do that. That also might drive the pH low enough that it's acceptable. They have a moderate to a slight effect on pH. Okay, that you could do that, or you could geek out totally and use a water chemistry calculator and kind of target a certain profile, maybe a German Pilsner. The one thing I would caution anybody though, when you use software and you pull in, say, the water of Dublin. Don't ever look at the bicarbonate level and think that's actually a target, because then you might have to add acid to take away some of that alkalinity. So that is just probably what the water had in that area. Doesn't tell you what they did with it. So that's the only cautionary tale I have. If you really want to geek out on water, go down that rabbit.
That's brilliant. I didn't think about, you're right. The water profile is not necessary. I mean, it is like if someone took the water profile of San Marcos and was like, that's what Joshua's making beer with. You're right. I never thought of that, where you're like, no, they did something with their water probably, or are doing something. I never thought of it that way. You're right. And, people will give my pop and I grief regarding, do you not season when you cook? Because we only use RO water. I'm like, no, I don't actually. I'm that white too. I'm down the middle. But no, but we've talked about just using, and you give me your feedback. So the show is actually fake. I made up these people. I made up these questions. I just wanted to get you on to answer this for me. Frank is a false person, and I'm just going to put in an order under his name on Keg Connection so everyone thinks it's real. No, my pop and I have flirted with the idea of using the Topo Chico as our water profile before we brew at any given batch. Is that a terrible idea? Because it's
a terrible idea.
Darn it!
Because one of the things that makes that bag of salt so great is the amount of alkalinity in there that is counteracting the carbonic bite. And Topo Chico is kind of minerally. That's why it's so good.
Yes.
You don't want to add a lot of minerally, especially to your weak Kolsch beers. But you could add 5 grams of calcium chloride to your Kolsch, and I think you might find that delightful. I don't actually remember the water profile of Koln off the top of my head, but I do believe it's rather soft. So
it is. It is soft. Yeah.
And so maybe a little calcium chloride will get you a little bit more of a fullness. They say malty versus hoppy, right? The difference between sulfate. But the truth is it's more of a roundness of the mouthfeel. So you may find it enhances, or you may find it's not worth it, depending on what you want to do.
And it's a good excuse to experiment. Experimentation is always fun because it's a good excuse to brew another batch. But more importantly, it gives you real or anecdotal, observational results to make future decisions with, because like you said, my pop and I have done so many batches of fantastic Kolsch with RO water. We add just that little bit of gypsum or whatever it was you had said at first. I'll go back and watch
calcium chloride.
Calcium chloride, that too. Calcium chloride. I'm going to edit it so I don't look like an idiot.
That won't help, John.
Oh, yeah. hey, this is my show. I'm going to edit you out, and I'm going to put an AI Lorena there who's like, oh, you're the best, Josh.
You're so great.
We may add some of that calcium chloride and be like, oh my gosh, this is actually better than we thought we could. You know what I mean? Because like, and worst case, we're going to have more Kolsch. So like,
I would do that rather than add the Topo Chico salts, because that might be pretty minerally, may not be what you want. And you might find it's not worth it.
Right.
I like the beer the way it is. There's it. And the same is true for Frank. I would say if he's happy with his beer, that's great. But in some cases, I've seen really, really, really good beers that say, I'm also a beer judge. So when you judge something and it's a solid 35, good beer, maybe, just maybe, a little bit of water chemistry help, maybe pH control, something that might take that beer to a 40, and some people are going to say, 35, 40, I just drink it, but in competitions, I think you're going to find most of the brewers do a little something at least with their water.
That just sidetracking. Frank, thank you for the question. I digress too much. Todd's not here to rein me in. Sorry, you're not enough to rein me in. I was just thinking we have to bring you to help judge sometime, because you would be appalled at how liberal we are with our points. Oh, there's so many 47, 48, 49s in our competitions, dude. You would be so grossed out as a real judge. That would actually be probably the most annoying thing that you would find about me in a day of judging. You'd be like, you gave that what? Oh, Lorena, it was good. And you'd say verbally quantify that, and I'd say it tastes good. I like it. Good Kolsch or good alt. We're having I don't know if you know him by name, Horst Dornbush. We're very, very close to securing him to come do an alt beer competition as a judge. And here's how much of a coward I am. I know he's a real judge. He's a real beer guy. I'm going to have 4 judges. I'm taking myself out as a judge so that I don't have to hear his wrath about because whoever he's partnered with is going to, hypothetically give out a 48, and his is going to be like a 34, and be like, but 34 is already fantastic. Why are why?
Exactly.
Why are you overcompensating with points? 34 is perfect. It's gonna be great. But I'm too much of a coward to be partnered with him. And since I'm in control of the competition, I do whatever I want. So
that's right. You're the boss.
I'm the boss.
When Todd's not here.
When Todd's not here. There we go. When Todd's not here. But yeah, wrapping up Frank's question, my friend, thank you so much for submitting it. And again, as always, guys, if you have a great comment or any feedback on that and you're watching at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour, leave it in the comments below. It helps with the algorithm. While you're there, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. Lorena, we're YouTubers, man. We're growing. We've been on YouTube for way too long and we have way too little viewers.
You have a ton of viewers. I love it. I was watching a podcast yesterday, I think it was, and I was in the car, and even my family was like, "They have how many thousands?"
Yeah, we have
a lot.
We entertain tens of people, is what I have a little placard. Tens of people entertained, and like, but you have tens of thousands of listeners. Yeah, but tens are entertained. I stole that. I stole my grandfather on my dad's side. He was my favorite person in the world. And he, the two things that he trolled my grandmother with all the time, he'd introduce her as his first wife, which I absolutely love.
I guess she loved that.
Oh, absolutely. You've met my first wife, Patsy, right? But then one of my favorite ones, he goes, Patsy and I have been married for 35 wonderful years. And she goes, Vastine, you idiot, we've been married for 58 years. And he goes, and 35 have been wonderful. It's the best. So I just try to repurpose that. My whole life mission is trying to troll my wife like my grandfather. It's the least I can do for his memory.
That's the least you can do now that you got her trapped.
Now that I've got her trapped. Yeah, what's she going to do? Who's going to... yeah. I gaslight her too every day. No one's going to want you if you leave me, babe. This is as good as it gets. She knows. She has access to the internet. She knows that's not true. That's how I know she's in love with me, because she interacts with other people and is like still choosing to be with me. It's a wild thing. Frank, thank you so much for the question. One last gaslighting gong of questions for everybody. Nothing. Okay, well, hopefully I'm not the only one who hears it. Our third and final question is a text message from our buddy Nate, kind of a long question. Nathan, he wrote in, how long is too long when it comes to leaving a batch in primary fermentation? Thanks to you guys, I now pressure ferment at room temperature in a keg. I have a batch fermenting right now. I am leaving for a vacation tomorrow. Won't be back for 10 days, making it a total of about 13 days in the keg fermenting. My gravity is not where I want it to be yet, only off by a few points. Would you transfer before leaving or let it sit until you get home? Love the podcast. Love your YouTube page too. Thank you, Nate. Cheers. When people typically suck up more than that to get on the show, but I'm been desperate for questions lately, so I take any kind of comments. I know for me personally, and this is a mistake I've made, out of laziness, I've let a batch under pressure here in my office sit on that yeast cake for 3 weeks, and then it had a funk to it. You know, it was a funk that sort of went away with time, but it was always there. And I attribute it sitting in primary for so long at 72 degrees or whatever my office is typically at as being the culprit. In your opinion, is there a too long, like as soon as numbers hit, you transfer? And if you don't have your numbers yet and you're going to be gone for 10 days, what do you do?
And that is a dilemma with pressure fermentation. One of the joys of that, of course, you ferment at a little bit warmer temperature, but we all know that higher temperatures also can cause some autolysis and some other problems. So there's the dilemma. However, since it's not at final gravity, and what is room temperature? Okay, if he lives in Maine and room temperature is, 66, or does he live in South Florida where right now it's 100?
Yeah, good point.
That also makes the difference, because we all know even if it's not autolyzing, beer ages a lot faster at room temperatures the higher the temperature. So I personally, he said there's a total of 13 days in the primary. I'd let it sit. I would try to keep the room temperature, as low as reasonable. But what would you do, Josh? Would you do the same? You do a lot of pressure fermentation.
You know what? I think I don't know if my opinion would change, but I did want to ask you, and I'll answer your question without dodging it. If it was a lager or an ale, that might change my opinion, because if it was a lager, I'd be like, oh, okay, that's probably, I might drop if it's in my office where it's only 145 square feet and I have a mini split that's made for like 1,000. So it's overkill. So I can freeze this room out. I might just drop that down to like a freezer box for while I'm gone, and then not worry so much about it, because a few points is a lot. I don't want my beer to be, sweeter than I want it to be, and not done. But if it's a lager, I bet you that you're not hurting it at all. And an ale at 13 days is probably not, like, for a Kolsch. I think I would just drop the temp. I had to think, because it's everything that we do on the show ultimately boils down to context. And like you said, room temp, I didn't get from Nathan. I could look at his area code if I go back in the text. Like you said, room temp is such a broad concept, where here I call 72 room temp, but it's not actual room temp. I'm air conditioning it down to 72. My wife calls room temp 78 because that's what she keeps our house at. Yeah.
See, yeah, and that is the difference. And I think when you say room temp, the connotation is 72 degrees. That's where most humans are going to be comfortable most of the time. Some are cooler, some are hotter, but yeah. And then, so I think, and it depends on what you're making too. If you're making a barley wine, let it sit. If you're making a Kolsch, you want to get it off the yeast in 3 days? No, because the choice is 3 days or 13 days.
You're right. Yeah.
I go for 7. Okay.
Yeah. No.
So come home on the 7th day and take care of that beer. Where are your priorities?
How do you brew before a vacation, Nathan? What on earth?
What are you thinking?
Yeah, priority. I bet his wife scheduled that vacation. Think of the beer, man. But you're right. That is such a weird. That's why it was such an interesting question to me, because that is like that. Oh, just far enough to be annoying, but just too soon. Like, so using imperial yeast, I can say I have had beer hit final gravity in less than 72 hours. Like it was actually chugged through. I know they're workhorses and it's incredible. But like you said, it is not standard for a beer to finish out that fast. And a lot of times people would argue, especially some old school brewers who don't, but like when we talk about imperial chugging through, they're like, at the detriment of the taste, probably. It's not supposed to go that fast, which, okay, whatever. My taste buds, I smoked so many cigars, I don't even have taste buds. I don't even know why I'm judging any competition ever. I have no taste buds. Like, why do y'all trust my opinion? But it really, I have gotten to gravity, and James and Todd too can vouch for it because they use imperial as well, where it's chugging through. But then, in theory, Lorena, if his had gotten to gravity the minute he leaves the house and he's gone, and let's say it's at gravity, are those extra 10 days now extremely detrimental?
I guess that, again, it depends. What's the temperature? What is the beer? Is it a cream ale that if you have so much of a tiny, tiny bit of yeast character, you're going to pick it up? Or are you making a big roasty Bigfoot stout clone where it's like a little bit of yeast character is kind of nice in there?
Right.
So it depends. If I was at final gravity at day 3, and if I was worried about it, I could transfer.
Yeah. But
again, it's still going to be at room temperature, and you're still going to have flocculating yeast, so you're still going to be sitting on a yeast cake. So, at this point, my final answer is I would leave it.
and to cover all of our bases, though, too, he's in a keg. If you had a temperature controller, a thermostat controller, use that. Bring that fridge to the actual fermentation range, and then that's the win-win, right? I mean, we could go down so many rabbit holes, and I love doing that. I'd like to do a whole sideshow of just one question. Yeah, rabbit hole brewing, where someone asked this question. By the end of when we wrap up the question, we're so far from it, like that people are like, what was the first question? No, I'm assuming if he had the ability to temperature control, he wouldn't be pressure fermenting. There's no, I gotta be careful with my words before people text me that love pressure fermenting. I would just say there's no, if you have the ability to temperature control, I would argue there's no benefit of pressure fermentation. If you had a fermentation chamber, I would pick that. And maybe that's just because I hang around Todd. I hang around old dogs all day, and new tricks are tough to teach them. But my best beers, anecdotally speaking, have been from following the tried and true processes. And so we've made fantastic beer at room temp under pressure. Don't get me wrong. But if I had a fermentation chamber or if I had a glycol setup, I'd be utilizing that. Like Todd does every single batch. Todd doesn't do under pressure because he doesn't have to. And I'd assume Nathan's the same way. If someone's doing pressure, it's probably because they don't have the ability to properly control temperature during primary. And in the winter, even here in Texas, I can throw it in a closet and it be relatively close to the actual range that strain needs to be, especially an ale strain. But there ain't no way in hell in summer right now I'm gonna find a closet that's even high 60s, like without my electric bill going through the roof. So
otherwise you'd be in there.
Otherwise I'd be in there, absolutely. Yeah, because my wife keeps my house at 78. What the heck? What? I don't understand. I have friends too, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my wife keeps it at 76 or 77." I'm like, "What? What is this? Like, if I was in control of the thermostat, which I mean, I am. I'm in control of the things.
That's right. You're
house.
The man.
I'm in control. If I was though really in control, it'd be like 70 or 72. Like you said, 72 is just so perfect. The first time I went to San Diego, I think it was like perpetually 72 that whole week. I was like, this is the perfect town. This is the perfect city.
That's why everybody else moved there.
That's why everybody else moved there. That's right. Yeah. They knew what they were doing. Anyways, wrapping up, Nathan, again, fantastic question. And my final plea, if y'all are watching it, youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think in regards to would you transfer early? Would you premature transfer or would you let it ride? And then if you've done that before, let us know your results. Because like I said, I've never let it ride for that short a time. When I've let it ride, it's like 21 plus days after we've hit gravity. And I don't ever recommend that. Ever at room temp. It's not advisable. It was bad. My poor pop, he spends all this time coming over here. We do the brew day live, we're bonding, and then I do something so lazy to ruin the batch of beer he was looking forward to drinking. And then I blame it on the equipment. Oh, Dad, you think our stuff's infected? It couldn't have been me. It was not anything I did. That should be the title of my memoir one day. It wasn't me. Him and Todd hear that all. I think Todd trolls me. He'll message me every now and then or call me. Hey, this happened on the website. And before letting him finish, I'll be like, I didn't do that though, right? It wasn't me, Todd. I didn't do that. I don't even know how to do that. And then he'll be like, see, you don't even know what I was going to say. You're just, yeah, I'm a child. What can I say? If I had hair, I'd look more like a child. Actually, no, I look more infant without hair, but I'm digressing again. Lorena, my friend, that wraps up all the questions I have for this week. I sincerely appreciate your time. Like I said, I would do the homebrew small talk hour with you for many episodes. It's some of my favorite times is hanging out with you on the web. We need to get you down to Texas, please. You and Bob come hang out at the ranch.
We'd love it.
It would be great. But thank you for your time, my friend. I'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com. Use that submit a question link at the top of the page, but even better, call it in to 325-305-6107 and get yourself that gift card to kegconnection.com. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntons Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntons, give them a try by joining the Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of premium imperial yeast along with delicious recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.